I'm Julie Zenner along with Dennis Anderson, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
A mentor can make a huge difference in the life of a child. We'll talk with mentors and the director of Mentor Duluth Superior tonight.
After months deployed in Afghanistan, Lieutenant Commander Roger Reinert is back home, and he'll share his story with us.
And we'll have the week's business headlines from the editors at Business North.
These stories and more next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. And Danny, it finally started to feel a little bit more like spring today.
I noticed this morning even the robins have taken off their little jackets and boots. I think they're going to stick around for a while.
They're still putting some padding in their nests, though.
They are, yes, indeed.
We have some good guests tonight, so let's get started.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Julie, and welcome, everyone. Well, for the past several weeks, we've been talking about efforts to narrow the opportunity gap for young people growing up in poverty. And one of the best ways to help a child succeed is to match him or her with a role model. Tonight, we're going to focus on the critical part mentors play in creating a brighter future for our youth. And so joining us is Erin, Moldowski, the director and mentor of Mentor Duluth and Superior. Mary Zastrow is a retired Superior school teacher and current mentor. And Beyer is a mentor whose day job is at the Sappy Mill in Cloquet. I want to thank all of you for being here on the program tonight. Thanks very, very much for being here. Erin, why are mentors so important in trying to improve the life of a child?
Oh, mentors are just holistically can improve a child's life. I mean, we ask for our mentors to just be a positive friend, positive adult to a child, and through that relationship and that relationship building component, the youth that we have and serve in the program can succeed like academically, socially, behaviorally, and it really grows a great way to be matched in the program to have youth benefit
They can
from
really
mentors.
change a child's life, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely, yes. It can be a life-changing experience for the child and the mentor, too.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a lot of research that backs that up?
Yes, absolutely. And so the National Mentoring Resource Center is completely dedicated to supporting that research behind it. And so there's an entire field of research and mentoring to support it.
Mary, how did you become interested in being a mentor? As a teacher, I imagine you've spent a lot of time with young people over the years, but what made you decide to do that one-on-one as a mentor?
Well, when I was teaching, it was in a low-income school, so I saw students who just missed out on so many opportunities that could enrich their lives, and being in the role as a teacher, I really couldn't reach out beyond that school day. And after I retired, it was about the same time as the opportunity gap was coming to life in the area. And it just seemed like the perfect way to get involved with the mentoring program.
And Barry, what led you into becoming a mentor? And are there a lot of men who have volunteered to be mentors?
As far as the number of men, I guess I'm not sure. Erin may be able to help you with that. But in my case, many years ago, I had a friend that was involved in a similar program, and he always talked about how fulfilling the interactions were, and the improvements that he saw in this young man's life that he was working with, and that always stuck with me. And then a couple of years ago, my wife saw an article in the Duluth newspaper about Mentor Duluth, and had some specifics about a particular child. And she says, "This guy would be perfect for you. Did you ever think about this?" And I said, "Well, it's matter of fact, it's something I've been thinking about for quite a while." And that led me to contact Mentor Duluth, and here I am today.
Erin, are there certain things that you look for in a mentor, certain skills or personality types that seem to do the best in your sort of a program?
So what we're looking for in a mentor is just someone to really be a positive adult and friend. And so our mentoring relationships can look so different based on the youth and based on the mentors. So we try to match based on that shared personality. So some matches are really, really active. They're really involved in sports. They're always moving and running around. And then there are other matches who enjoy cooking, baking, arts and crafts. And so we're really looking for someone to just be reliable and consistent and to be willing to kind of share themselves and their passion with youth.
I imagine there's a screening process.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yep. The screening process is about 3 months on average to go through, and we really want to get to know you as a mentor and to know what your interests are, what your passion is, because we want to make the right fit. We want to find that best fitting match for you and your mentee. So,
Barry, what kind of a time commitment is it on your part, and give us a sense of what a typical day might be like with your mentee?
Yeah. In our situation, it works out pretty well. We're involved with the Experimental Aircraft Association in Superior, and on Wednesday evenings there's a 2-hour session where youth are rebuilding an airplane, and there are a number of experienced plane builders that are helping teach these kids how to use tools, how to make measurements, how to install parts on the plane. And so we do that every Wednesday evening, and it goes from 6:30 to 8:30. And generally before that, we'll get together for about an hour ahead of time, grab something to eat, be able to have some time to kind of talk and share how the previous week had gone, talk about school, talk about whatever.
And Mary, is there a favorite part of mentoring that you enjoy most, and you try to match that up with a child?
I guess just having time to hang out together is a big part of our relationship. And I can pick up my mentee after school, and we can go get a shake and sit and chat for a while. She'll come over to our house, and we'll do some baking or shared reading and catch up on schoolwork. And just seeing that relationship, and her change through the years. When we first started, she was 10 years old, and we'd go out running and biking, and now she's 13 and likes to go shopping. And
so these relationships can last for years.
Oh,
and
yeah.
often do last for years.
Yeah, so our longest running relationships are now 7-8 years in the program. And so, my sister was matched in the program many years ago, and she's still connected with her mentee. They connect on a weekly basis at least, and her mentee's well into adulthood at this point. So,
Is there some sort of a time commitment that you ask people to make when they sign up for the program, so you know that they just don't kind of pop in for a week and then
absolutely.
disappear again?
Yeah, so our time commitment that we ask for is for 8 to 12 hours a month for at least 1 year in a mentoring relationship. So we really do ask our mentors as they're coming into the program to really think, can you spend that 8 to 12 hours a month with a child? And so, and that looks different for each match. And so, Barry, I know that you kind of meet on a weekly basis. And so it so some matches meet weekly at the same day, same time, and then other matches based on their schedule kind of have to change it up, maybe based on work, mentees, schedule, things like that.
So, Erin, how does one become a mentor?
You can just contact the program, kind of express your interest in mentoring. So you can go on our website, you can give us a call, and then we'll get the process started. So it starts with an initial interview, and then we'll just sit down with you. We'll give you a mentor application packet. We'll talk about the program, provide more details, and then we'll go over the application process and the screening process as well.
And do people maybe from time to time say, there's more here than I can really handle, so it doesn't always end up as a mentor?
Yes, yep. And so right off the bat, we kind of let people know, so here's the commitment, here's kind of what we can offer as a program in terms of activities and benefits, but we do want people to think critically. So we have had people come in and then say, you know what, I'm thinking about moving in a year, and then we say, maybe right now isn't the right time. But then we encourage you to, wherever you're moving, connect with other mentoring opportunities in that community.
Now, so often when people talk about mentoring, the discussion focuses on the benefit for the child, but I imagine there are also some benefits for you as mentors.
Oh, yes.
Talk about that and what it brings to your life to be working with a child, to see progress in a child.
Oh yes, no, it's very rewarding. We get a chance to, as he's been progressing through school and learning new skills, you kind of see that spark when when you learn something new, and you know, that's very fulfilling. You get a chance to see that you know, we're doing something positive, and you know, we both look forward to our sessions every week that we get together, and yeah, I look forward to it every week.
Yeah.
What about you, Mary?
I think just knowing that there's that positive piece in someone else's life that I can be a part of is very worthwhile to
Yeah.
me, and so I enjoy that.
Erin, tell us about the nonprofit status Mentor Duluth Superior recently received.
Yeah, so Mentor Duluth and Mentor Superior have been operating within a collaborative, but over the past 2 years, just recently received 501c3 nonprofit status, which is really great. So we all the directors came together and talked about, you know, long-term sustainability of the program, and then the program applied for that status. So it's been an exciting journey.
So from a financial standpoint, this would really help you out.
Yeah, it's been helpful, and it provides more flexibility, and
Sure.
yeah, it's just been a great growth and evolving process in the program.
Really. Listen, we can't thank you enough for being here. Erin, Mary, Barry, thank you all very much for being here tonight, and appreciate spending the time with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you for
Yeah,
having
thanks.
us. Yeah.
If you are a regular Almanac North viewer, chances are you've seen some of the video letters home we've run over the past months. These videos have been shared by Lieutenant Commander Roger Reinert, a Navy reservist from Duluth who has spent the better part of a year deployed in Afghanistan. His videos have shed some light on the life of our deployed military, thousands of whom are still serving in harm's way around the world right now. Well, we are happy to report tonight that Roger Reinert made it back home 1 week ago today, and he joins us now in the studio.
Good to see you both.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
And it has been so fun for us and enlightening for us to kind of follow your journey over the past several months.
Thank
you
you.
so much for sending those video letters home. It's been amazing.
Well, I'm so thankful for WDSE and Almanac North to do them. You know, it is, as we're 18 years into the war in Afghanistan, coming home, one of the things that has struck me is it's not just old news, it's just not news anymore. And so the opportunity to work with you all and do that, to try and I love what you said, Julie, in the introduction, to give a glimpse of not just my story, but the story of thousands of Guard, Reserve, and active duty folks that are deployed around the world right now.
And Roger, what do you want the people of the Northland maybe to know about the people of Afghanistan?
Well, so I had a chance to meet a lot of Afghans
Sure.
while I was there, and I mean, the average Afghan wants the same things we do. They want safety, they want a future for their children, they want health care, they want education. They are a courageous, fierce, independent people. You know, they have a lot of challenges. They're in a place that everyone wants to fight over. You know, we have an interest, Great Britain has an interest, Russia has an interest, China has an interest, and you know, and that tension goes back thousands of years.
Now, being away for so many months, how do you prepare for that kind of a deployment heading out?
That's a great question, and I think the easiest answer I can give you is that I wasn't prepared. And that's not anyone's fault. I don't know that you can be. You know, to end up in a place where, you know, it's not safe to go around, where you always have a weapon that's loaded, where your base comes under attack. I mean, I don't think you can prepare, and you try to deal with it as you can, and you rely on your teammates. And in my case, many of whom had deployed before, so that was great to know that how I'm feeling. Yep, that's normal. Yep, I've felt that before. And then technology, the ability to stay connected at home. Because for the service member, often the greatest stressors are that thing that's happening at home that you can't do anything about.
Which begs the question, Roger, do you also then, while you're there, do you still have to prepare yourself mentally to return home?
Well, you think about it, right? You think about it all the time. You know, in the last maybe 90 days that I had in theater of my 9 months, it seemed like time just didn't move. I'd check the calendar a couple times a day to see if it was still the same day, if we were getting closer. You know, but much like going over, it's hard to prepare to come home because you sort of flip a switch. And in my case, as a reservist, you know, I'll be on active duty orders through the end of the month, and that'll bring me right up to my 1 year of deployment. But I mean, as soon as I came back to Duluth, it felt like being a civilian again, almost like I'd never gone.
Really?
Yeah. Until I'd see something like, oh, that's new, and my wife would say like, no, that was built last August. And they're like, oh yeah, I've been gone for a while. So,
I want to hear about some of the experiences that you had over there. Any intense moments or poignant moments that really stick in your head from the time that you were there that changed you or changed your perspectives?
So the one that comes to mind immediately, and I'll try to get through it without getting emotional, is there were a couple times where I really thought my life was in danger. And one was in order to, as public affairs officer, I would sometimes escort media. And in one particular scenario, I could not have a weapon with me. That was just the protocol. And I'd just come back with a journalist from the Wall Street Journal when the alarms went off and our base was under attack from small arms fire. AK-47 was usually the weapon. And I remember standing there thinking, I don't have my gun. This is how it's going to go down. I don't have my, and I thought, and my wife is going to be so mad. She's going to be like, why didn't you have your gun? And so, you know, later that night, which was morning back home, I'm telling my wife this story, and I'm telling her, I'm like, and you'd be so mad, and I was laughing, and in the same sentence, the same breath, I totally melted down. Like I was just, my hands were shaking. You know, I was just an emotional mess because like all of those feelings just came rushing back. And
that ability to connect with your wife through the internet, that has to be really something that's comforting and yet difficult at the same time.
Right. I mean, an amazing thing. Most days we had fairly good Wi-Fi, which was you know, if you had Wi-Fi, you could communicate. And so most days I could talk to her twice a day, usually, you know, when she's getting up or when she's going to bed. But like you sort of indicated, it went both ways. Like there were times I knew too much. Like, okay, there was a backup or there was a leaky faucet or whatever, and you know, and I can't do anything about it.
Are you telling me this?
And she's like, I got it. Don't worry about it. You know. So, but it was I would rather have had too much than not enough communication. And one of the agreements we made with each other was I would always tell her when things happened, so that she wouldn't wonder and not guess at is he safe, is he not safe, and so that worked well for us.
Did you feel welcomed at all by the Afghans?
So that's a great question, Denny. Yes and no. I mean, we would go out sometimes when we would drive. I was based in Kabul, so sometimes when we would drive from base to base, I mean, you would get kids doing unfriendly things, whether it was throwing rocks or gestures or running in front of your vehicle, daring you to hit them. And then you would also have adults who would be like, we're so thankful you're here. My daughter can go to school. You know, so, I mean, it's a country that's really been at war for 40 years, starting with the Russians through 9/11. So I just respected that whole range of emotions. Some people thinking that we don't want you here, you're invaders, you're oppressors, to others being really thankful because we had brought some ability for them to have a little bit of a normal life.
For the most part, did you feel safe while you were there?
I felt safe on the base, but you really weren't safe moving around very much. We typically took a helicopter distances that would be, that you could almost walk because it wasn't safe to do that. Kabul, of course, as the capital of Afghanistan, was always the target for both the Taliban and ISIS-K that were there. So it's very much still an active combat zone, but I definitely felt safe on the base that I was on.
You talked about how long the United States has been over there. Being there and seeing the situation, did you feel that that presence is necessary?
So I'm not going to go into
Maybe
any
you
foreign
can't talk.
policy questions. I do, like I said, I do think that from the Afghan perspective, they appreciated the ability of having not just us, but all of the coalition. You know, there are 42 countries that are a part of the Resolute Support Coalition in Afghanistan, and different countries take on different parts of that mission. The United States has a big chunk. We are most of the forces that are there, and we do a lot of the training and advising that goes on. But by no means are we the only ones that were there. The base that I was on was actually a Turkish base run by the country of Turkey, and most of the forces there were Turks. And then there were also Romanians and Czechs, big Australian group. We had British Gurkhas that are kind of close neighbors to Afghanistan, and they were helping do some of the training around security work. So, I mean, it sounds cliche, but I personally leave with the idea that if we're not there, we will be having that fight here. I mean, there are people there that are very interested in doing us harm and doing harm to our way of life.
And so are there a number of people from Duluth or the rest of the Northland, Minnesota, Wisconsin, who are there now and who are still in harm's way?
So that's a really great question. At one time, there were 4 people just in my base at my command with strong Duluth connections. 2 had grown up here and then moved elsewhere as adults, then myself, and then a guy named Joe Benning, who many will know because his dad, Jim Benning, is the City of Duluth Public Works Director.
Sure.
Joe showed up around January, and it turned out we were essentially across the street from each other. So it took us about a month to figure that out, and his wife helped get us connected. And then we finally had lunch together about 2 weeks before I had to come home. But yeah, it's always fun. Duluth is such a strong, special place, and if you're a Northlander, that's with you wherever you go, and people help find those connections, so it was great to see others there.
And the Northland really welcomed you back home.
Yes,
Big,
it was very special.
big contingent of folks waiting for you at the airport. Talk about that, just being able to land in Duluth and be here.
So that really did mean a lot. You know, one of the things that's unique about us as reservists is we're typically IAs, individual augmentees, a team of 1. So you don't deploy as a unit, you don't come home as a unit. This journey is kind of a solo journey. And so to have family, friends, a community here that really did welcome me back home and honestly stay in touch while I was gone meant a lot, because it meant that I did not ever feel alone. I felt like I got a whole community. I honestly, you know, from my own personal perspective, I felt blessed. There were a lot of people there that did not have the support network I did. And I will say there were a lot of people there that didn't have the abundance of care packages I did. So I got to be really, I got to be a good sharer while I was there of things that the Northland sent me.
All right, Lieutenant Commander Roger Reinert, welcome home,
Thank you
and
so
thank
much.
you for your service.
No, thanks for
Lieutenant
having us.
Commander, thank you so much.
Appreciate
your service.
Thank you.
Well, it's time now for the business news from the editors at Business North. Duluth-based Compudyne recently acquired the assets of Data Network Group in Boulder, Colorado. The company serves small to medium-sized businesses with overall IT support, including technical help desk assistance, according to Compudyne. The agreement will expand the Compudyne team to more than 100 full-time employees in 6 office locations across the country. Compudyne said it will leverage the strengths and capacities of both teams to better serve mid-market and enterprise-class customers.
Elite reported first quarter 2019 earnings of $1.37 per share this week. Net income was $70.5 million on operating revenue of $357 million. That's an improvement over last year's first quarter when earnings were 99 cents per share. Elite said results included a 19 cents per share gain from the sale of U.S. Water Services. Chairman and CEO Al Hodnick said the company will introduce, quote, major strategic initiatives which will drive industry-leading growth in coming years.
More people are working in Wisconsin's forestry industry, and Wisconsin timber is fetching millions more on the market than it did even a few years ago. Those are among the findings of a new study by the National Alliance of Forest Owners. Its report on the economic impact of privately owned forests shows Wisconsin led the Midwest in the number of timberland acres. Total employment in the forestry sector is nearly 175,000, and value of timber sales more than $21 billion in 2016. The report is based on data from the U.S. Census Bureau, the Bureau of Economic Analysis, and the Forest Service. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
Well, now is your chance to call if you have a comment on our show. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdse.org. And for a complete schedule of upcoming programs, visit the WDSE website, where you will also find news about upcoming station events and special programs. And Denny, there are quite a few of those coming up, including many surrounding the 50th anniversary of the moon landing this summer.
50 years feels like yesterday.
Well, it wasn't.
No.
For Denny and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Julie Zetter. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.